Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live webinar today as part of our virtual tax school for tax professionals. And in this particular session, for new tax professionals, and we'll explain why. Of course, the topic is Introduction to 1040 Tax Return Preparation. And our speaker for today is a very friendly face in the tax and accounting industry, Mr. Anthony Sampson, enroll agent and solution architect for Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting. And Anthony, I always enjoy doing these types of presentations with you because you've been on both sides of the tax industry, both as a tax practitioner, you're an enroll agent, you have been for many years, you prepared hundreds of returns, you still prepare some returns now, but you're now on the other side of the tax industry, which is the technology side. You get to apply a lot of the things that you learned over the years as a tax professional, and you bring that in a way of helping other tax professionals finding the right tax preparation solutions and the technology that is best to improve efficiency and drive productivity. So I know I've said a little bit about what you do, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself and explain what a solution architect does and talk a little bit about your expertise within the tax industry. Welcome, Anthony.
Absolutely, Luis. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, and I really enjoy the opportunity to work here at Wolters Kluwer, a company that's focused on the tax and accounting professional. So really, as someone with a tax and accounting background, as a practicing EA, Wolters Kluwer really needed someone that has the tax knowledge and also some product expertise. So what a solution architect is, someone who has that accounting and tax background, and then also someone who specializes in a particular product. One of the products that I specialize in here at Wolters Kluwer is TaxWise. So I host many webinars throughout the year, speaking to various different tax and accounting professionals, showing them the benefits of running a virtual tax office powered by TaxWise Online. I've got about 10 years, well, actually over 10 years of tax accounting experience. Next week makes 10 years since I've had my EA certificate. I'm looking at it right over there. And then also too, got a degree in accounting, and it's coming up on 6 years. In a few months, it'll be 6 years that I've been here at Wolters Kluwer, and it's been a phenomenal ride. So enjoying it. So looking forward, we got a lot to cover today. But before we do that, I want to take a moment just to get familiar and know a little bit about you. Like I said, this is a webinar that's for new tax professionals that are entering the industry. So Luis, go ahead and launch that polling question. I'm curious to find out how long have you been a tax professional? Are you looking to become a tax professional next year? You just completed your first tax season. Is that you? Definitely congratulations to you if you have. Or do you have 2 to 4 years of experience, or maybe you're just a seasoned veteran, a seasoned professional, 5+ years? So take a few moments and answer those polling questions. I'd love to hear some feedback just to get a feel of the room and find out. And it looks like, Luis, we've got a good handful of people that are either looking to start next year. Some people have just completed their first tax season. So that's fantastic that we've got a good crowd of people that they're just getting started into the profession. And this is a very great profession, very rewarding, very demanding, but also it's very helpful. Helping clients solving their tax problems is amazing and very rewarding at that too. So I'll leave the poll open here for just a few more seconds, and then we're going to go ahead and get into our today's objectives and what we're looking at covering today on our session of Intro to 1040 and Tax Prep utilizing a virtual tax office. All right, so it looks like mostly everyone, we can go ahead and close the poll. Looks like most everyone that this is their first tax season, or they just completed their first tax, or they're looking to get started next year, excuse me. So that's fantastic. We definitely want to be able to speak to you and just show you what it's like to use a virtual tax solution in your tax office and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and go through here and let's kick off the material and get started here. All right, wonderful, wonderful. So today's objectives, we're going to cover and understand how to complete a beginner level 1040 tax return with multiple W-2s, right? We're definitely going to walk through that here today. In addition to that, we're also going to take a few moments to identify how to report healthcare coverage, right? Even though taxpayers are no longer required to have health insurance, there's still a reporting requirement that's available, right? As far as if a client is getting insurance through healthcare.gov, where they're purchasing health insurance and getting those premium tax credits, All right, so we're going to walk through on how to prepare returns with that health coverage and also economic impact payments, right? Or what we like to call stimulus, right? Did your clients get the stimulus? I know you're hearing, well, no, I didn't get all my stimulus. Oh, no, I'm missing that. So we've got some reporting worksheets in TaxWise that help you to calculate that. And then some practical tax prep examples we'll be using, utilizing our cloud-based virtual tax office solution. All right, so let's go ahead, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with TaxWise Online. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up on the screen here. All right, let me just drag that over right over there if I can get it up. All right, wonderful, wonderful. So right now we're looking directly, you should be able to see on my screen TaxWise Online. And since we're looking at directly at TaxWise Online, you want to see that TaxWise Online is a browser-based solution, works exclusively in your web browser. So this enables you and your tax office to not have the requirements of a Windows or a Mac or a specific type of operating system. You can use a Chromebook, you can use an iPad, as long as that device can gain access to the internet via a web browser. It's a product, a solution that you can use in your tax office. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start a new tax return. And one thing I want to show you within TaxWise, when you become a TaxWise customer, there's an area called the Learning Portal. And what the Learning Portal gives you access to is all the support. There's a lot of support that we have on our Solution Center, and the Learning Portal has practical examples of some sample tax returns. There's some webinars that you can register for and go through some training. There's a lot of examples that we have here. So it's a learning portal to help you to be as efficient and effective as you possibly can. So we're going to go through some beginner tax returns right over here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up that beginner tax return that I have. And I'm going to walk you through some work papers that you can go through. And this is fantastic because what a lot of tax offices do, when they purchase TaxWise Online, they get access to that learning portal, and they would take their employees, their team members, through the actual exercises of preparing the tax returns, utilizing TaxWise Online, just to get them familiar with what it's like to prep returns. So we're going to start off with a really basic and simple, easy return, and we're going to kind of go step it up a little bit. All right. So for our example over here, we've got John, and in our scenario, we can see that John is not married. Right, he has no children, so he's living his best. I'm just kidding. He's living his best life. Just kidding. So John is single, right? And he began paying back his student loans this year. So he would like to know if he can deduct $250 he paid in interest. All right, that's a good question. He received $1,400 for economic impact payments. So he got his $1,400 stimulus check for 2021. All right, and John wants to e-file his return, and that's his PIN number. He would like to receive a paper check if he gets a refund, right? So not direct deposit. So we can see some basic information. John works as a bookkeeper. This is an address, social security number, and we've got some information. So we're going to just prep a basic return. I'll walk you through what it's like to start a return utilizing TaxWise Online. So we're going to click New Return. And when we click New Return, I'm going to you got to put in the social security 2 times just for it to verify. So I'm just making this up. All right. And then we're going to go ahead into the tax forms. And now you're going to be introduced with something very interesting in TaxWise Online. You're going to be introduced with something what's called the main information worksheet. And that's actually the foundation of building the tax return inside of TaxWise Online, that main information worksheet. Now, what's interesting as well is I'm just curious, I wish we were in person. How many of you are bilingual, right? Where you speak Spanish, where Spanish, maybe English is your second language, right? Or you have a large Hispanic clientele. I remember about 6-7 years ago, I used to work at the Latin American Association. And for 3 years, I prepared returns for a large Hispanic community. Never knew that TaxWise was available. We use a different software. That means that I could have checked this box, even though that I spoke English, right? I wasn't bilingual in Spanish. I wasn't that fluent in Spanish. I could have changed the entire engagement process and prepare in Spanish, or the other way around is, like I said, I speak English, but I could have changed it to where that the tax return will print in Spanish. So the Spanish form is to be printed over here on the screen. I could have definitely changed that. But I'll go ahead and uncheck that. Now, TaxWise Online, we can prepare 1040s within our TaxWise solution. And one thing you'll notice on the left-hand side is what's called a forms tree. So the forms tree shows the forms that are currently inside the return right now. So we just started it, so just some basic forms are here. And you'll notice you'll see some green check marks and some red exclamation points. So the red exclamation points indicate that this worksheet is missing information, right? It's missing information. And it's tied to these red underlines. So wherever you see these red underlines, that's where we would enter the information. So the saying over here with TaxWise, when you use TaxWise, is let's get the red out. Let's get it all out, right? So we're looking over here, and this is John Hammonds, right? So we got John Hammonds over here. So I'm gonna I'm gonna cut and paste a little bit here. I'm gonna type in John's name over here. And one thing too, I forgot to bring to your attention is there is a refund monitor over here. So as you're preparing the tax return, we have a refund monitor. And something else you'll see over here, I've got Georgia defaulted because we have what's called tax return templates. So we can actually default certain forms to automatically get added. But as I'm building out this return, you'll see various different states. You'll see Georgia get added to the return as I'm adding information. All right, so just want to bring that to your attention. All right, so we've got John over here, and John lives over here on Miller Road, 623 Miller Road in Rome, Georgia. So just put in that basic information, Miller Road. Now, what's different about TaxWise Online, I don't have to type in that city and state of Rome, Georgia. All I need to enter is 30165. So I'm going to enter that 30165 over here. And once I've entered that 30165, you'll see that city and state start to populate. Let me kind of zoom in for a second here so we can all better see it. All right, perfect. So we'll zoom in just for a second. So you'll see that directly over there. You can see that 30165. You can directly see that. Now let's go ahead and scoot down, and you notice that you see that red underline. What TaxWise will allow you to do is to hit Control E. So say I'm right here on the address. I can hit Control E on my keyboard, and then I can enter in for federal tax purposes the client's date of birth. So let's say 0101. Let's actually look at the worksheet. He was born on September 25th. That's actually Luis's birthday, right? September 25th, 1978. He was actually born, right? So everybody, make sure you send Luis a birthday card on September 25th. All right. All right, so he's all right. And what is his occupation? His occupation, he's a bookkeeper. Fantastic. So he's a bookkeeper, and we can definitely use our cut and paste feature. Now, once I hit that, I can hit Control E on my keyboard and move to the next required field. So did the taxpayer have an advanced child tax credit? No, they don't have any children. Is the taxpayer reporting any Puerto Rico income? No. Do we have any Puerto Rico income? All we've got from John is his W-2, right? That's it. And it moves to the next scenario. So we don't have any of that. So we're gonna come back over here and click that. Then we'll see over here, so no to the Puerto Rico income. Did the taxpayer have insurance to the marketplace? No. We're gonna, in our next scenario, we're going to use the marketplace as an example. And then let's see, it didn't address the virtual currency question. Now, I do want to pause for a second here and just make sure I bring attention to this. Especially you new tax preparers. If you're new, don't assume the answer to this question at any time during the year. Did your taxpayer or spouse receive, sell, exchange, or otherwise require financial interest in virtual currency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, things of that nature? Take the time to ask the client this question, because if you don't, if you say, oh no, this client is very conservative, I don't care, even if it's $5, or $1 or $2, whatever it is, the answer is yes. It didn't ask you what the value of the virtual currency is. It asked, did any time during the year do they have possession, any ownership of virtual currency, acquire any? So definitely, if they're playing around with a little bit with Bitcoin or anything like that, because you can buy these virtual currencies from your smartphone, you've got to go ahead and address the answer. It's not going to impact the client's tax liability, but make sure in your due diligence when you're interviewing the clients that you're getting that answer addressed, okay? So I want to make sure I address that. All right, so you may hear a little bit of sound over here. My landscape guy, he's cutting the grass, so if you hear some of that sound, just disregard that. All right, so the filing status is single. All right, hit Control E, and then notice how we're jumping to the next areas over here. It's just skipping, right? Because I'm hitting Control E, and TaxWise has that speed. It allows you to work through a tax return very quickly. All right, so he said his PIN that he wants to use. This is the PIN number that he wants to use, and typically in some scenarios, this is a practice example. Sometimes clients don't have a PIN. Now, if a client has an identity theft protection PIN, right? Are anyone familiar with identity theft protection PIN? Those are the PIN numbers that the clients receive when it's a little bit over down towards the bottom. If the client's been a victim of identity theft, or the client requested one, right? So if the client has identity theft protection PIN that's provided by the IRS, this is where that would go inside of TaxWise. All right. Just want to bring that to your attention. All right, so let's scoot back up here for a second. I want to show you when it comes to the states and working through the actual states over here. So you'll see I've got Georgia added right over there. So I'll hit tab and it's going to add Georgia in there. Then you'll see that I've got it designated for e-file and things of nature. And we also do work with banks. So we got 5 different banks: Republic, TPG, Refund Advantage, 3Fund, and EPS. So we got 5 different banks that work with TaxWise online. So just want to bring that over to your attention. Let me zoom out for just a quick second. All right, so as we work our way through this, we're working through the main information worksheet. Now notice it's still red, so there's still some information that we're missing. So what do I do in this kind of scenario? I just come to any field and hit Control E, and it'll take me to that required field. And of course, I didn't set my settings up for that. So I think the date is what it needed, and then I'll hit Control E again. What's the next required field? It's asking about driver's license. I'll hit Control E again. It's asking how did I obtain this information, identity theft, proofing level. So definitely want to ask how you validated that client's identity. Now, once I've answered all the required questions here, look what happens. It turns into a green check mark. All right, so you see how everything's lit up in green. That means we've got most of the answers addressed here within this worksheet. Now let's go back to our scenario over here. So we got the client social security number, we've got that information. We noticed that they received their economic impact payment. We don't need to do anything like that. There's some, he can deduct $25 of paid of student loan. He'd like to know if he can deduct $25 he paid in interest. Right, so he paid back a student loan. So we're going to go to that area where we can address that. Now let's come back over here into TaxWise. And before we do that, there's something called an interview worksheet. And what the interview worksheet allows you to do is go through and interview the client, ask the client questions. So some of you may have your tax office open now, and definitely clients are coming in and you're interviewing them. This is a great tool that you can use and train your new hires or even yourself to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. So did the client have any wages? We're going to go ahead and say yes. They had wages. So look what happens. Automatically a W-2 worksheet gets added. So we can put that W-2 worksheet, click over here at the W-2 worksheet, and then it's going to ask some questions. Check if the taxpayer's address shown in W-2 matches. Yep, that is correct. And then now TaxWise has a EIN database. So once you enter in the EIN number for a payer, it's going to save that information, right? So remember, TaxWise is in the process of helping you prepare returns very quickly in a short period of time. So we entered that EIN number. So I entered this employer's information before, so it just pops it right back up. It just pulls it up just like that. All right. So let's look at the client's W-2 here for a second. So on the W-2, we'll see the client has about $38,521.43. So let's click over here. So $38,521. Now we can use the cents, we definitely can, but definitely when it comes to taxes, you can round up. So that's under 5, so we're not going to round up to the 22. So it's $38,521. So we'll enter that over there, and then what do we have for federal withholding? We have about $3,944 for federal withholding. Now look right over here in the red. You look at this. You see the refund monitor? It's saying right now this client's not getting any refund, right? So just based off of this income that we have in here, this $38,521, this client would owe $2,970. Now that's just on that federal side, but if we come back to it, we can see our withholding is $39.44, $3,944. So I'm going to click $39.44, and there it is. You'll see it's back in the green. Okay. So as I was saying, TaxWise is a live running solution. So in real time, it's calculating that necessary information for you. So we can see down over here, I got the state of Georgia that we said, and we've got $2,155 withheld for state income tax. So I'm gonna just put this 2,000, sorry, should remember that, 2155. All right, so 2155. All right, we've got that. Notice we got a red underline, so I'm just gonna put a number in over there, 58, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we've got that information entered in directly over there. And to go back, I think I didn't activate my state here. I'm going to go back over there and just make sure my state is activated. So make sure that is there. And there we go. So my state is activated. So I've got my state activated. I got my state activated. And you can see now I'm getting a $532 refund for the state of Georgia. Okay, so very simple process. We're going to work through that when you're getting that information in. So if I come back over to my W-2, you'll see TaxWise automatically calculated that $21.55 in state income tax. It's calculating, and you'll see my Georgia forms right over here, right down here, my Georgia forms. So pretty much half of the state return has already been completed based off just the information I entered, and then you'll see the Georgia 500 form. It's just asking some basic questions. Did the taxpayer's address change from last year's tax return? We'll go ahead and say no. that answered that question. Georgia 500, page 5. Do you want to electronically file this return? We're going to go ahead and say yes, we do. Check if you want to receive a paper check. The client did want to receive a paper check. So we answered that question. Let's see what else needs to be answered on this worksheet, on this page. All right, do you want to authorize your department ready to discuss the return with the tax preparer? I'll go ahead and say yes, and we answer that question. So you see how we just completed the state return. State return's already completed. The federal return is just about almost completed. Notice how most of the items are highlighted in green because we've entered a lot of significant amount of information. In TaxWise, we do have diagnostics. So if we got any diagnostics, but notice there's nothing diagnostically wrong with the return. Notice we've got our green check marks. It's saying there's a refund in the tax return and no direct deposit information matches. Information has been entered. Is this correct? So it's just bringing that to your attention. Now in TaxWise, when all your diagnostics are cleared, you can click on create e-files, and that's will send the tax return over to the e-file database to electronically file that return. Now, one thing I want to bring to your attention before we move to the next return, under the interview questions worksheet over here, you'll see that we can go through the interview questions worksheet, and you'll clearly see that right over here that we've got the wages, interest, dividends. So it's asking you questions pertaining to the client. We answered yes to wages, and it populated the W-2 worksheet for us. But then you notice down here, there's more additional questions, right? Did you or your spouse receiving any of the following forms? So you can go through these questions, make sure you've crossed your T's and dot your I's, make sure you have everything necessary in here, right? You're looking through this, making sure, okay, I didn't miss anything. I didn't miss any of these items over here, asking the client questions, itemized deduction questions. Have you medical expenses or pay any health insurance? If so, you add yes and would add the corresponding worksheets. Now over here, when you get to the bottom, you'll notice something right over here, approximate price for this return. So I'm going to click on this, and there's a pricing worksheet that's in here. So TaxWise, you can bill by the form. So if you bill by the form in your tax office, you'll notice right over here, I've got some basic tax prep fees, basic fees per each form. I need to add some more pricing in there. I got a lot of zeros in here, but you can see what we're charging to enter a W-2, $20, do a Schedule SC. So all of these areas where we're charging, and if I was missing something, like let's say I took this $15 out, this would turn red. It would turn red and bring it to my attention. Well, typically, I think I got that defaulted there. But typically what happens if you're missing something, it will turn red. And then right over here, you'll see you've got various different miscellaneous charges that you can add. Maybe you charge a e-file fee, like I got a $5 e-file fee. All these various different fees that you may charge, you'll see that it's located right over here. All right, so it's a pretty basic return. We'll just kind of very basic return. We're gonna just not omit the interest for a second because I want to move on to something just a little bit more complicated when it comes to Affordable Care Act, just in the essence of time, making sure we're accomplishing all the time that we need. I'll make sure we have all the time that we necessarily need. So in our next return, I'm going to actually produce a printed copy. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and do that now, actually, to save some time. So when we finish the tax return, right, we talked about coming over to diagnostics to e-file the return if we want to e-file the return. But before if we want to add any notes to the return, we can definitely add some notes to the return, just adding those notes right over here. We can say missing 1099 or something like that. So if you want to add any notes to the return, you definitely can add notes. And when you add notes to the return, it appears in the return manager. So you can see those notes in the return manager without even having to open the return. Now, right over here, I'm going to click over here on e-signature. So TaxWise does have electronic signature functionality. With that e-signature functionality, we can send an electronic copy of the tax return to be signed by the client. Now, there's different levels of e-signature. We have in-person, remote, signature. So the remote signature, that's where it actually sends the tax return to the client, and they're going to answer those knowledge-based authentication questions, validating their identity, validating who they are. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just bring up the information to send out the e-signature. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to send out the e-signature email, and you'll see what it's like to actually do it. I'm going to click right over, so it's like the in-person option. And one thing too I omitted is on preparer's device. So maybe you have a Topaz pad or something like that, a pad in the office, and you want the client to be able to sign it. That option is available too. So we're going to go ahead and hit submit. And when I hit submit, we're going to go ahead and send that tax return to be signed. Takes a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and open up my Gmail. And this is what the customer is actually going to see. I'm going to show you exactly what the client's going to see. So click right over here. All right, perfect. So here's a document right over here to be signed. So I think I got a new one. Document to be signed for John. Click right over here, begin signing. So many of these strings over here for your entire message. Click begin signing. Just let me know that I've got a document to sign. So I'll go ahead and click begin signing. And it's going to go ahead and I'm going to go through and sign off on this that I've agreed to the terms. And I'm going to start signing. I'll go ahead and put my signature. Or if I want to type my name, definitely can type it up with my signature. And adopt the signature. So here's a tax return that I can sign right over here. I see my refund, $1,026. I can see that. I can definitely look at the return before I sign it and see what's in there so I know exactly what I'm signing. So apply the signature. I also have the 8879, right? Signing my 8879. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the signature for that. And then in addition to the federal forms, I've got the state forms I can sign. So this is the Georgia form right over here. I can definitely sign the Georgia tax return, apply the signature. And last but not least, the Georgia electronic filing authentication form. So I can see my client's getting a refund. I'm gonna hit apply signature and hit finish. So I just applied the signature. That's processing your document. Now, a signed copy of the tax return for you as a tax professional, that's gonna appear right over here inside what we like to call the vault. Okay, the vault is located right over here, and this is where the signed copy of the tax return will actually appear. So it's going to be inside the tax return. So when you need to get a copy or give a copy to the client, here's that signed tax return. I'll click on that. This is the preparer's copy of the actual return. So it's going to take a few seconds to load, and you'll see that tax return with the $38,000 of income. See that everything's been signed. So it's where you as a preparer will retain that signed copy of the return. And then coming back over here, the completion certificate is located right over here. All right, so you can see that it's been properly completed. Certificate of completion. All right, and then the client, definitely you can share this client, you can share the tax return with the client. We have a client portal that you can add on. You can talk with your solutions consultant to add on a client portal. We even have a TaxWise mobile site where if your clients are using the mobile site to send you tax documents, you can send the copy or you can save a copy of the tax return into the client's mobile site as well. So we make it easy for you to deliver the actual tax return to the client. All right, now let's launch our next polling question. Let's kind of go through our next polling question is, Luis, if we can go ahead and do that. All right, so it looks like, okay, how did you get involved with tax preparation? So I want to take a few moments to get to know you, right? Did you work as a tax preparer at a tax office, looking to add a new service in your current business? So some of you may be real estate agents, or some of you may be insurance agents, right? Or maybe you're a notary, right? And you want to add tax prep as a service in your current business, right? Or some of you may be graduating or will be graduating with an accounting or finance degree. Or if some of you may be looking to start a new business just in general. Maybe you've worked in a different business, maybe something in finance or related, maybe you're a bookkeeper and you want to start a tax preparation business, right? It's very simple and easy to start a tax preparation business. Definitely do your research. We've got a lot of resources here at Wolters Kluwer to help you to start a tax preparation business so we can guide you in the right direction. But definitely curious, how did you get involved with tax preparation? All right. So it looks like our polling questions are coming in. So we've got wow, more than half of you worked as a tax preparer at a tax office. That's fantastic. So more than half of you have done it for someone else. You've done a great job working for someone else. And now you're ready to say, hey, I think I could do this on my own. Definitely think I could be effective and run a tax preparation business on my own. So that's very interesting. And then some of you definitely are going to be looking to add a new service. All right, so maybe you're an insurance agent or something like that. You're looking to add a new service in your business. And that's one of the things too we realize as we speak to many customers across the country, that a tax preparation service is good if you've got an existing business where you're servicing clients, whether with the insurance or with real estate. It could be very helpful to add a tax business. I remember the first job or internship I had, they had a tax business, they were real estate agents, they were real estate investors, and they also were mortgage brokers. So you would come in, get your taxes done. You get a, if you want to buy a house, you want to get a mortgage. They were a really good place. And actually, I ended up meeting my wife interning there. I actually met her there. So definitely, who knows what your successful business can do. All right, so let's look at TaxWise Online. Let's go back to TaxWise Online for a moment. And we're going to start off a new return. Let's pull up our scenarios here for just a brief moment. So we're going to go ahead and save and close. And I'll take a few moments and I'll show you what the return manager looks like in TaxWise Online. So when you're looking at all the returns you currently have, this is exactly what it looks like. If you want to search for a particular return, you can just type in the client's name, and it'll pull up any return with their names in there, with those matching names. You can definitely see that. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Also, too, I mentioned that being able to see return notes. So when you're inside the return, see Mr. Schedule A over here. Mr. Schedule A has some notes in his return, so I can see what those notes are without having to open the tax return, right? It looks like he's missing a 1099, things of that nature. So you got the ability to see that. And then let's say that a client reached out to you and they had some questions. Maybe they're applying for the financial aid, their FAFSA, and they need to get their AGI, right? Well, we can easily get their AGI information, adjusted gross income. Well, this client doesn't have an AGI. I picked the wrong return. We could easily get their AGI information right over here just by looking directly at this. AGI is $20,008, taxable income is that. So in many cases, a client you may need to get an AGI for a client, and you can see right over here that we can do that. We can pull that information up. So good questions, good information that you can get at your fingertips, right? So the return manager is a very effective tool. We also have a mobile solution that we said. So whenever clients go to your mobile site, and when they go to that mobile site, I'll show you a good example of a mobile site. When clients go to the mobile site and they begin to send you their information, maybe they want to get an estimate of their taxes. This mobile site could be white labeled with the name of your tax business right over here in the URL, or you could even right click and make I've even seen some people make a QR code of their mobile site and put it on the back of their business card. But our mobile site where you can estimate your taxes, you can do a 1040 estimator and send your tax documents in to the tax office. Whenever those interviews come in of people that completed the mobile interview, it's going to show up right over here under import interviews. So you'll just pretty much see that. And a lot of tax offices, they use social media like Facebook, and they use Instagram and things of the nature to advertise. So they put their mobile business online and advertise for various different businesses. Like you'll see one of our customers here, iTax Mobile. We give you the opportunity to customize, and this is definitely what their mobile site looks like. So when they're advertising on social media, their customers come to this site, and all the data that they send over comes over as an import interview. The client send over, and they begin preparing the return. All right, so fantastic. So some good tools we have over here at Wolters Kluwer to help you within your tax office to be effective. So I'm going to take a few moments here. I'm going to go back to our practice return section. And with our practice returns, we just worked on practice scenario number 1. Let's look at practice scenario number 2, right? And if you're curious, we do have the answers. The answers are located over here, the answer key. Now, it may vary due to tax law. Some things may vary due to tax law, maybe at the time when it was printed. I know last year we started off having unemployment in the beginning because we create these like in January, December, January, and then when tax law changed in March, our answers changed. So maybe off a couple dollars or something like that due to some tax law changes, but we do have an answer key posted on our site. All right, what's this right here? Let's close that tax return. All right, so coming back and looking at this scenario, so we got James here. James is not married, so he has no children. Okay. In addition to his job, James has interest income and he needs to report. So James looks like he has some money in the bank, so he has some interest income. He received health insurance through the marketplace for the entire year. Okay, so that's good. So we're going to get into some premium tax credit discussion. James attended college all year and wants to see if he's eligible for an education credit deduction. Okay, and he's not previously claimed the American Opportunity Credit, and he has not completed the first 4 years of post-secondary education. Okay, interesting. Okay, so he's still an undergrad. He's never claimed the American Opportunity Credit, so it sounds like he's a freshman. That's what it sounds like, but we don't know with certainty. It says James did receive his $1,400 economic impact payment, so he did receive his stimulus check. And I'll show you in TaxWise what if James did not receive his stimulus check. I'll show that to you in TaxWise. And James wants to e-file, that's his PIN number. So it looks like the documents we have here, we got a social security number, we got the W-2. Let's take a look at his W-2. We got his W-2. All right, so James is a student as well. We have his interest income. So he has a significant amount of money of interest income, about $500. That's pretty good. James also has his 1098-T, all right, for going, he goes to Kennesaw State University. And then James has a 1095-A for his health insurance. So that's definitely what he has. So let's go ahead and begin the process of creating James's return, and I'm going to walk you through this process over here. All right, so let's go back up here and on the 1040 side, and let's click on New Return, and let's make up James. Let's give James a social security, and let's make up the social security number. So let's say James is 103001111. All right, 103001111. All right, so we have a tool called the interview form. So you can go directly to the tax forms, or you can go to interview forms. So interview forms, and that's when I first started back in 2011, I prepared my first tax return. I used the interview forms. I was working at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, and this is the way I would interview the client. Okay, what's your filing status? Okay, you're single. I would go through all these questions and ask the client these questions, and it would give me a good starting ground as far as, okay, what's your income, what's your deductions. You're asking the client questions, you're entering their information in, because the client is sitting right in front of you. And this was great because I was learning the business. I was learning how to prepare taxes, just finished tax school, and I was getting ready to go through that process, right? So we do have interview forms. It's great if you're new to doing taxes, you can definitely go through that. Another approach is, once you get a little bit of experience under your belt, you can go to the forms. I remember I used to be scared to look at the tax forms. Oh my goodness, it's everything interview mode. But then definitely with some experience and some training, I got comfortable with the actual tax forms. So we're coming back to our main information worksheet. We're gonna go ahead with James again. All right, so his name was James Gant. Keep putting on my caps locks. James Gant. And then what was James' address? Let's see. James lives on 901 Memorial Drive. So, okay, so he lives on Memorial Drive. All right. So we're going to go ahead and cut and paste that. And I'm going to zoom in here for a second. Now, remember, we have the opportunity. We don't have to enter in the city and the state. We can take that zip code 30165 over here and enter it onto the actual zip code database. So at 30165, you'll see the city and state populate just like that for us, okay? So then our birthday, what's James's birthday? How old is James? All right, James was born January 11, 1990, so James is young, 01/11/1990, and James is, what's his profession? He's a landscaper. Okay, so he's definitely a landscaper. All right, so we're working through that. You'll see that. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here for a second. And now remember, I just did something. I just hit tab on my keyboard. When I hit tab on my keyboard, it just moves to the next line. That's not important, right? What do we want to do? We want to hit Control E on the keyboard, right? We want to hit that Control E. Now, is James is single and he's not married. So did he receive a child tax credit advance? No, he didn't receive any of that, right? Did he, let's see, did James exclude any Puerto Rico income? I don't think it mentions anything about Puerto Rico, right? There's no Puerto Rico in there. Let's see if there's PR on the W-2. No, he's in Georgia, right? So there's no Puerto Rico income in here. So we'll stick with that. All right, so we're going to say no to that. And does taxpayer receive insurance in the marketplace? Yes, he does. It says that James does have insurance in the marketplace. So we're going to say yes to that. It didn't mention Bitcoins. I'm going to say no, but always remember, always ask your client. Make sure that you ask your client, do you have any cryptocurrency, all right? All right, so looking forward, let's continue working through this. His filing status is single. He has no dependents, okay? So let's work through that. We're skipping through that. I'm going to go ahead and TaxWise sometimes get stuck. I just got to take that out and then put Georgia back in there. And you'll see the Georgia form get added automatically. So I've got Georgia added. We've got the e-file selected. Remember, we've got bank products available if you need any for your clients. And we're going to work through this, okay? So we're continuing to work through this. What forms are we e-filing? Are we using? We're preparing the actual 1040 income tax return, right? We can use the PIN number that James brought reference to right over here. James wants to e-file. That's the PIN. All right, so we'll put that information in, and let's put the date. Earlier I put 04/18 by mistake. We got that date in here that we're preparing that tax return, and we'll work through that. Definitely, it's discussing the identity information verification the client has. I'm going to say, just for now, I'm going to say no driver's license, but you want to get that driver's license, especially if you're doing bank products. You need to get that driver's license information, right? And it's going to ask, how do you verify that? Now, if the client has an identity theft protection PIN, this is where the identity theft protection PIN. Remember, the identity theft protection PIN only comes from the IRS. So if you e-file that return and it bounces back, it rejects it because it's missing that PIN, you have to make sure, get with your client, make sure they got that letter from the IRS, or if the client lost a letter, misplaced letter, then you probably have to paper file it for that year. All right, now notice that we've got our green check mark over here on the main information worksheet. So we're lit up in green, like a Christmas tree, right? So we're gonna click next on our interview worksheet, right? See how we're working our way down? It's going to ask questions, did you or your spouse receive income from the following sources? So was there any wages, salaries? Absolutely, yes, we had wages. So we say yes to the W-2. You'll see TaxWise adds the W-2 there. Then you'll see what's the next question. It's asking about tips. No, there are no tips, but it says interest. The third question, interest on savings or checking account. Let's take a look at this here, right? James has a 1099 INT. So looking at this, we can see his W-2. But then right over here, we can see James has $500, $502 from Cherokee Bank. So we're going to say yes to our third question. Yes, there is some interest income, right? Then you can go through and read these questions. Did they take any money out of retirement, any unemployment? You can go through these various different questions and look, okay, what type of other income do they have? What type of forms they have? And you can check yes or no, and those forms will get added in here. So we're going through that. Same thing for the spouse. Did you sell or dispose of any items listed below? Did you sell your personal residence, rental property? So these don't apply to James, right? So we can continue to keep reading on, but I still encourage you, read these questions, right? Because even myself, as a skilled preparer as I am, there's things I may forget. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Did you make any charitable contributions? Because now, you can deduct $300, up $300, taking a standard deduction on charitable contributions, and up to $600 if you're filing jointly. $300 for filing single. So these are some things I may forget to ask the client. Oh, did you give any money to charity, any nonprofits or anything like that? So going through these questions, as skilled as you are, it's a good way to cross your T's and dot your I's, okay? So we can see that those items are listed there. Now what we'll do, we have our interest income, we have our W-2. So I'm gonna scoot back up to our W-2, and let's look over here at our W-2 for James, and let's come down over here to our worksheet, and we'll see our W-2 listed right here. So for our W-2, it says, okay, $23,500, and we're gonna enter in, I'm gonna use the same EIN number just for time purposes to save us some time. So that EIN number we used in our previous example, 5812345667. We use that exact same EIN number. Notice it populates that employer's information. Now the wages, looks like we had $23,500 in wages. So we got this $23,500 in wages, right? There was no retirement contributions. Notice we don't see any retirement contributions, right? So it's going to be the same for box 1, box 3, and box 5. Right, if there's retirement contributions, what we would do, we would come up here in TaxWise. We'd take off the calculation for box 3, 4, and 5, 6, and then we would actually adjust this number right here. There were retirement contributions, and check the box, right? So if they put some money in a 401k, and check the box retirement plan, but we don't have that here today. All right. Now, one thing you want to keep your eye on as you're preparing the return, you want to keep your eye on your refund monitor. Okay. So as we're preparing the return, we've got this $23,500. We can see, wow, James, he's not getting a refund, right? He owes. But let's complete the process. So it looks like he has about $1,800 in federal income tax withheld. So let's come back over here to TaxWise Online. We've got that $1,800, and once we put that $1,800 in here, you'll see, look at that, he's getting a refund now. Okay, so we still got some more work to do. We're not done yet. Let's go ahead and put his state in there. So it looks like based off this, he's getting $791 is the amount that he owes. So I'm gonna just put a number in here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, now looking at his W-2, $952 was what was withheld for state income tax. So $952. We're gonna go ahead and carry that right over there, 952, and now looks like that. Look, we're in the green, right? We're back in the green. So are we done? Can we shut it down and invoice the client? No, we still got some more to do in here, because just because we got the W-2, we've got to keep going. What other income they have? There's that interest income, right? That $502 in interest income. So we got that 502. So the way it works in TaxWise, interest is reported on Schedule B. So we come over to the Schedule B. There's no seller finance mortgages, none of that. What other income, right? Other interests, right? If the payer is a brokerage firm, list the firm's name, right? So what other interest income does the client have? I'm gonna just go ahead and enter Cherokee Bank. That's who that payer is, Cherokee Bank. So let's go ahead and enter that information in here. Cherokee Bank, and they receive $502 in interest income. All right, so we got that $502 in interest income. Let's kind of scoot over here. All right, 502.21. And let's come down to the bottom. We'll see there's no dividends or anything like that. This is what the client has in interest income. Now, at the bottom of a Schedule B, you got these questions are required to be answered in order to accurately complete a Schedule B, right? At any time during the year, did the client have financial interests or signature authority over a foreign bank account? So we're gonna go ahead, that had over $10,000 of U.S. currency in there. So we're gonna go ahead and say no to that. During the year, did the client receive distributions from a grantor or transfer of a foreign trust? So no, they didn't mention any of that. So we got to make sure we answer those questions, right? So now we finished those answering those questions. We've entered in the interest income of $502 for this particular client. We've entered that. And if we need to go to a list, maybe the client has multiple pieces of interest income, we could definitely add in other items for interest income. We could work through this worksheet and add in more if we need to add more. But typically, if a client has a lot of interest income, that means they got a lot of money sitting in the bank. But we just have this one. Sorry about that. Sorry for saying that. All right, so we got the $502 over there. Now let's continue on. We've got that 502. Now let's talk about the education, right? So he's going undergrad. And for sake of time here, I'm going to make sure I just use my time wisely here. So we've got this 1098T for $6,425. You went to Kennesaw State University. So we're going to go about getting this, right? We're going to go about adding this. I'm going to go back to our interview worksheet, and let's look at our interview worksheet. Let's look at these questions that asked us here, because we skipped the question. It said, okay, did the client have any, did the client attend any post-secondary education? Did you pay qualified post-secondary education tuition and related expenses for yourself? So we're going to go ahead and say yes. And when we say yes, it automatically adds in Form 8863. Okay. So Form 8863, that is definitely our education credits worksheet. So do we just enter in what we think our education credits? Do I just force number? No. Look at this right here. You see what it says? Required, calculated. This is a calculated field. All right, so I'm going to click on the gray arrow. It's going to link me over to the corresponding worksheet, right? It's going to link me over to that corresponding worksheet. 1 second right there. It's going to link me directly over to that corresponding worksheet. So I'm going to click over there on that, and then the existing 8863. So page 2 of the 8863. So the student's name, whatever that student's name is, so just put in James Gant. We're going to put that information because there could be dependents. We got to just verify which student or dependent this may be. Student social security number, I think I had entered in there 102. You know what? I'm just going to go cut and paste it. All right, so we're going to get that social security number. It was 103. I'm glad I didn't change that. All right, so for James Gant, let's put the correct information in that's there for James so he can get his credit. So that at 863 over there. So the name of the financial institution. So the name of that financial institution was Kennesaw State University. I'm just going to write university. And then definitely we can put the address in there. So I'm just going to put in 15 Owl. And then that zip code 30144. All right, so now it's asking questions. Now, did the student receive Form 1098T from this institution? So let's look at that. Yes, they did. They got the 1098T. They received it. So we're going to go ahead and say yes. Now, look at this question over here. Did the student receive 1098T from this institution for 2020 with box 7 checked, right? So if the student's a freshman, their first year, so the answer is going to be no. So you want to ask the client, you want to find out this information, because if box 7 is checked, That means that check if amount in box 1 includes amounts for an academic period beginning in 2019 or another period, right? 2020, I think we should use a different form. So it's asking this question to know if that there's all these amounts of tuition was just for this 1 year. So we're gonna go ahead and say no, it just applies to that one particular year. And then we're gonna enter this EIN number of the institution. So I'm gonna just put in 56, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. All right, so we're gonna work our way through this and let the red underlines guide you, right? So this area, we don't need to address this area, but you'll see the red underline in here. Now the question is, has the Hope Scholarship Credit or American Opportunity Credit been claimed for the student in the last 4 years? So we're gonna go ahead and say no, because he said this is the first year, he's never gotten it before. Was the student enrolled in at least half-time academic period? Yes. I'm gonna say yes to that. And then you'll see, if yes, go to line 31. Did the student complete 4 years of post-secondary education? No, so he has not completed 4 years of post-secondary education. And this is a question you need to ask the taxpayer. Was the student convicted before the end of 2021 of a felony for possession of distribution of a controlled substance? Now, when you said you were getting into taxes, you didn't think you were going to be getting into people's criminal background, right? But this is a requirement. The answer has to be no in order for the client to get the American Opportunity Credit. And then how much was spent into college tuition? So we got $64.25 was spent. So it said don't enter any more than that 4,000 here. All right. The TaxWise will begin preparing the credit. It would begin preparing that process for you. Now, next, I want to make sure I address this too when it comes to the health insurance, right? So we've got some health insurance that he purchased from the marketplace. So with those health insurance that he purchased from the marketplace, we're going to scoot down and we're going to go down to form 88, 88, 8962. We're going to come back to 8867 in just a few moments. We're going to come over here to form 8962, and form 8962, here's where we're going to address these questions right over here. So it's pulling information. TaxWise is automatically pulling information in from the actual tax return. So it has my AGI. It knows I'm the only person in the family size. So did I live in Hawaii or Alaska? No, I live in Georgia, so the other 48 states. So this taxpayer lives over there. Now, to save time, it's asking, are you allocating policy amounts with another taxpayer? So no, we're not doing that. And then how about this right over here, as far as the second lowest cost silver plan? There's nothing related to that. So we're going to go ahead and say on this 8962, we're going to go ahead and say continue to lines 12 through 13. Bear with me 1 second. Continue lines 12 to 13. And then once we've done that, you'll see how our breakdown over here is. And the question is asking is, for part C, is asking for your second lowest cost silver plan. That's what SLCSP premium is the same for every month. If it is, then we'll say yes. So let's take a look at this, because I said no, but actually it is. So I'm wrong. So the same for every month, so it has that breakdown right over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put yes, because what I used to do is I used to put no, and I would go down and enter the dollar amount for every single month. Very time consuming, but to save time, we're gonna go ahead and say yes, and then you'll notice right over here, our total amount is $5,160. So we could enter $5,160 over here for our annual enrollment premiums. Then for our second lowest cost saving plan, what's that amount that's listed over there? That's $4,776. So we'll go ahead and do that $4,776. And then what's the annual advance payment of the PTC premium tax credit? Let's take a look at that. That was $3,000. So they got a $3,000 advance on their premium tax credit, but their premium tax credit they should have received, based off everything, they should have received the premium tax credit assistance of $4,411. They only received $3,000. Well, because that means that they overpaid their health insurance. So as I was saying before, their premium tax credit should have been $4,411. They've got an advance of $3,000, and their net premium tax credit is $1,411. So you can see the client has a refund of $4,211 right over here. Now, all that's left for you to do, and I know we're coming short on time, is if you would need to work through your 8867 to go through your prepared due diligence questions. This is very important, right? You want to make sure you ask the client the proper questions, and these are the items that apply, right? So if you're head of household, child tax credit, earned income credit, or American Opportunity Credit, you need to complete an 8867. If you complete it incorrectly or you fail to answer the questions or you don't answer the questions correctly, then you as a preparer can be fined. So you want to make sure you interview the client to get that proper information. All right. So that's essentially a basic way of preparing within TaxWise Online. Excuse me, preparing returns in TaxWise Online. One last thing I just want to make sure I bring to your attention, and I'll bring TaxWise Online back up on the screen, is you see the flow of it, right? You see how all these are listed in green over here. You got your worksheets highlighted in green. You see the client's refund. You know you prepared an accurate return. You've got your diagnostics. They still need to be completed, like it's telling you the 8867 has not been completed. So you got your diagnostics, and you got to clear these out to be able to accurately file that tax return. Another thing too is if you have any American recovery rebate credits, you want to make sure that you address this with the clients. If the client didn't get their recovery rebate, you want to go through this worksheet right over here, recovery rebate credit worksheet. And then if you do work through this, you'll be able to identify if the client, ask the client if they received their recovery rebate, their economic impact payment. All right. So definitely it's a good way. You see the value of utilizing a virtual tax solution to prepare various different returns within TaxWise Online. It's definitely easy for you to operate, a good time-saving tool as well. So Luis, let's go ahead and launch the last polling question here for a second. Oh, before we launch that polling question, one other thing I want to make sure we address before we launch that last polling question. I want to walk through just the virtual tax office, as we said. It's a browser-based, so you can access anytime, anywhere, using any device. There's no installation or updates required for you on your end. We send the updates out to you virtually, so you don't have to download any updates on your computer. It's secure two-way file sharing with online document storage. It's cloud-based, and it's definitely going to reduce the office costs. So let's go ahead and launch that last polling question that you have.
That's right, Anthony. And thank you once again for a great presentation as part of our virtual tax school webinar series. It's good to have the right technology. And that's one of the things we were trying to accomplish with this presentation, to showcase what a cloud-based online tax prep solution can do versus, for example, a desktop tax prep solution. So I will go ahead and close the poll question. If you selected that you would like to receive an email with more information, we'll do that. If you selected that you would like to speak with somebody, somebody will give you a call within 24 hours. But definitely, we appreciate, Anthony, your guidance, your content, as always, very informative. And we look forward to seeing everybody next time. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, everybody, for joining.